Oh,
Hi, PG.
you know,
I asked Pete yesterday about the tackling issues. Maybe, was it just because of coming out of a bye? And he said that was an excuse. What do you think it was after watching the film?
there's never any excuses. One, I got to do a better job of getting them prepared during the week. That starts there with me. Some of the issues that came up, the guys were trying. There were plenty of good tackles, then just the consistency. But again, it starts with me, just making sure that we're tracking the near hip, trusting the shoot, and just doing a good job of getting our eyes where they need to be and pursuing through it and just with the right angles. But, I just got to find ways to just keep emphasizing it and making sure that, it's just consistent throughout.
Where's your impressions of Darian Porter in the starting role?
I thought DP did a good job in terms of staying on top, in terms of the vertical passing game. He was competitive on some of the lower stuff and some of the man situations that we had. But he's a rookie that's out there, working hard, and I know there's room for improvement, and he's going to just keep working on that.
Patrick, what did you see was the difference late in the game, fourth quarter and overtime, compared to the first three when the defense held them in check pretty well?
Starts with the run game. I think it was 36 yards in the first half, and then they end up with 150 or whatever. So it starts with the run game. Got to do a better job, making sure that we're in better position to play the run. Got to do a better job tackling. So it all came down to the run game.
Greedy. Played well, at least when I looked at the film. That's what I thought. What was your impression? That's more important than mine.
He came out there, and a lot of times it was pressure situations in terms of third down, and did a good job, played with good technique, played to his leverage. Wasn't too big for him, so proud to see him do that. It was exciting.
What have you seen in the growth of Bo Nix from when you first started looking at him on film in the NFL to where you're seeing him now?
Well, again, I don't want to take anything away from the player, but in terms of what Coach Payton's doing there, I mean, you can see he's doing such a good job of bringing him along, for a coach who had a veteran quarterback for so long that they probably were in sync, from everything to, on the field, off the field, but he's bringing them along. I think Bo is doing a good job of, getting the ball out of his hands quickly. They got some things set up with the quick game. He's able to get out of issue plays in terms of using his feet. And then, again, there's a lot of check with me at the line of scrimmage. You see that in terms of the run game. He has some dynamic backs back there, the O-line's veteran group that's worked together. So he's doing a good job of controlling it. And I'm not saying like managing the game, but he's doing a good job of controlling it. And, it's always, when those guys are able to do that, it makes it tough.
McCollum was another young player that got on the field on Sunday. What had he been showing you guys, and what showed up on the film on Sunday?
It's always fun to meet with him and spend some extra time with him. In terms of a young player, I think he's in his fourth year, but in terms of not playing a lot, seeing the big picture from the safety position, understand how to take away pre-snap throws, how to work into windows based on the calls, and then just the energy he had out there, made a big play out there on the perimeter. You saw him get excited. I'm always excited about the enthusiasm the guys are playing the game with. So, he's worked really hard. There's a lot more work to be done, but proud of that.
You mentioned the two running backs they have over there. What stands out to you about the way that they use the both of them?
Downhill, explosive in terms of burst into the second level, and then just being able to get out in the passing game. That's the thing when you talk about having it's very reminiscent of watching the Saints offense back in the day. With Pierre Thomas and Kamara and all those guys. You see how I think Coach Payton does a great job of utilizing everybody on the roster. They all have a role, and he's done that for a long time, and it's impressive to see. So. They know who they are. They know who they got in terms of the coaches, and they use them the way they use them to really make sure that their best attributes are being shown on the field.
Harvey not only gets out in the passing game, but he got deep a couple times the last couple weeks. Like, how much of an element does that add to an offense when running back, not just in the flats, but just can go long?
It's been part of Coach Payton's offense for a long time, so it's impressive, and we got to be prepared for it.
Isaiah, it seems like he's been in the box a lot more the last couple of weeks. What do you see from him there, and have you seen a difference in how he plays there?
Isaiah has been consistent since we had him 4 years ago. In terms of he's played linebacker for us before. He's played down safety. He's played post safety. So for Isaiah, I know I mean, he prides himself on being able to do a lot of different roles. All good? Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, fast one, right?
Ted, real quick.
Obviously,
Hey, Jeff.
Jacoby Myers no longer in the picture. Who does that create an opportunity for? And I imagine Jack.
Well, it's got to be multiple guys. Jacoby was such an impact player for us, so I wish him the best. He was a great practice player, and I enjoyed coaching him. He's a heck of a kid, but we're going to have to, you got some other receivers. They're going to have to pick it up, and then you move on. That's, we look at it sometimes as we have to approach it. It's not that it's like a player got hurt, he's out of a game, then what do? It's the next guy's up. So, Lockett and Besh and Dante and those guys will have to step up, and we'll go from there.
Chip, there has been significant criticism of the usage of Ashton, and I know you're in the bubble and you're not paying attention, but do you think that criticism is fair, or do you think it's just much ado about
I
nothing?
think he leads the league in rookie rushing, doesn't he? And carry. So, and I think everything we do game plan wise is about winning that game. So it's not about how many gets how many touches. Maybe some fantasy people are a little disturbed, but we're not coaching for fantasy people, so we're just trying to win games. So I don't, that's not. I mean, he's our number one back, and when we're running the ball, he's running the football. So, and I think you saw him a little bit in the past game the other day, and he's starting to evolve in that, and trying to get him more involved in that way. So, he's continuing to grow. He's doing a heck of a job. Really excited that we have him.
Trading Jacoby for draft picks, is that an indication?
I have nothing to do with that. So
they have a rebuilding season?
I have nothing. I'm concerned with Tuesday afternoon as a coordinator. So that, those decisions are all made. Those are Pete and Spy, and those I got great faith in what those guys are doing. So, they just told us this morning, and our plan adjusts offensively for not having Jacoby in the plan, against Denver, and that's it. So I don't look any farther than that. We're really good at control what you can control. So as a player, they control what they control. As an assistant coach, you control what you can control, and then the rest of it follows up. But I don't have any aspirations to be a general manager, so I'm not looking at any of that. So.
How would you assess Jack Besh's progress?
Jack's done a nice job. He's got to play multiple positions. Whenever you're not the starting receiver, you have to play multiple positions because typically we go into games with just 5 receivers. So you got to back up the Z, you got to back up the slot, you got to back up the X, and so you got to play multiple roles. So you don't get to put them in just one spot and have them just stay in one spot because it's just the depth of the NFL puts you in that situation. So both him and Dante are coming along. It's the transition for any rookie is a difficult transition. So whether you're an offensive lineman or a running back or a receiver, so those guys are giving us everything. They practice hard. So we'll continue to see how they develop.
In terms of Jack, what kind of similarities do you see between his game and Jacoby's game?
Yeah, I don't compare anybody to anybody, so I don't see any similarities between that. I think everybody's their own individual. So I've never looked at a player and said this guy reminds me of that guy. It's just what is that guy's strengths and what are his weaknesses, and how do you improve this? How do you lean into the strengths and improve the weaknesses? Is what we do in terms of the development of a player.
Could this be a chance where his role gets a little bit more defined? Or?
Tuesday afternoon, yeah. He may get a couple more snaps in practice. So, again, we're not thinking long term. We just found out probably just when you guys found out. So that's not what we're thinking about. We're thinking about putting in a good afternoon of work here. It's really congested in terms of our days. Your Monday is a Wednesday, your Tuesday is a Thursday, and then in less than 48 hours we're playing a football game. So, it's the week itself is slightly different. So we haven't really talked as a staff about anything. We went right from getting the news in the first staff meeting to individual, right into position meeting. So.
How is it synced up now where, Brock and Mike Mayer are both kind of healthy and you used a lot of 12 personnel against the Jaguars? How excited are you to be able to use them to the best of their abilities now, both being healthy like you
Yeah, they're both really good tight ends, but I think your use of personnel really depends on what defenses you're going against and what that elicits from defenses. So, sometimes you say, hey, we should be in a lot more 12 ball if they put a different look on the field when you probably don't want to be in 12, you want to be in 11. So you're trying to figure out, how do they deploy their defensive guys based upon what you deploy, because they don't have to play what we want them to play. Like we can't call Vance and say, hey, when we play this, can you do this for us? That doesn't work that way. So, I think each week will change because every opponent's different. So the fact that we have two, when we've always felt like we have two number one tight ends and Mike and Brock is a good deal, so. But how we use them and how we deploy them each week will really depend on who our opponent is.
Why do you think Vance Joseph's defense in Denver has been so effective over the last couple of years?
Vance has done a really nice job. I think he mixes and matches his schemes. I think he plays to his strength. Obviously, it starts up front. That defensive front is the best in football right now. They have the most sacks by 10 or more, I think, right now. I think they have 40 and nobody's even in the 30s. So they can generate pressure He doesn't have to all out, but he will all out you. So you can't say, oh, they don't have to all out because they've got a really good four-man rush, but they will all out you. And if you're not ready for it, they're going to get shots on your quarterback. So I think because they can disrupt the timing from their pass rush standpoint, and they can present multiple coverages on the back end, I think he does a great job of mixing and matching. I think he's one of the top coordinators in this league.
What do you think this trade means for Trey Tucker, and is it safe to say he's the WR1?
Yeah, I don't look at WR1s or WR2s or WR3s or W2s. We're trying to figure out whoever catches the ball and runs really fast with it in the direction of the end zone is really good for us. So wide receiver one and all that other stuff, I don't think we've ever looked at it like that as a staff. We have certain positions. What does our Z do? What does our X do? What does our slot receiver do? That's how we kind of look at positions, but we don't look at some weeks the inside guys will be featured more because that matchup is better for you. And then some weeks the matchup on the outside is better for you. So those guys are featured more. But a lot of it, obviously in all of these situations, the defense have a say in the matter. So I think that's part of what the game is. There's a chess match that goes on within the game of how are they going to defend you. You thought going into the game it was going to be one way, and then it is that way. So you kind of continue with the plan that you've made all week. But I've been in games where you thought they were going to defend you a certain way, and then they don't defend you like that at all. So you have to pivot because they made a decision to pivot. So that's the game within the game. So.
With veterans like Lockett and Geno that have worked so much together, is there things that they can come to you with and say, like, hey, this really works well for us?
Geno's been like that since we've been him. And right now Lockett's just learning our terminology. Tyler's been great. He's played a lot of football, and him and Geno are on the same page. And I think sometimes Geno can interpret. They may have called it one way when they were in Seattle, and we call it this way now here in Vegas. So you can see Geno say something to Lockett, and he'll, oh, okay, I got you, and then this is what we want. So, Geno's always that. Geno's very active in part of our game planning, what he likes, what he sees. He's a student of the game. He's in this building 24/7. He watches as much tape as any coach. So we value Geno's input on a lot of things.
You mentioned Tyler. What did he show you guys in that first game action with you?
I thought he did a nice job, for what he was called upon. I don't know what his total snap numbers were, but, in terms of what his assignments were, he was spot on with what he did. And he's continuing to learn. He's got quickness. Obviously he's played in big games. Nothing's too big for him. So we'll continue to see what he can do. It still hasn't been a week, but we're getting into game 2 with him. So we'll see where we go from here.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Chip. You're going against a pass rush like they have. How quick is release, getting rid of that ball quick?
That's important. It's important every week. There's a great pass rush on every single defense in the NFL, and getting the ball out, protecting our guys up front with getting the ball out, not holding it too long is very important. And, it's important that our guys are running their routes and getting to the spots. The protection is critical up front. And then obviously me being accurate with the ball, getting it out on time and rhythm, allowing us to succeed and be at our best self.
What could you say about your time spent with Jakobi Meyers and just thoughts on the trade as well?
Yeah, Jakobi, hard-working guy, extremely hard-working, very talented player, a guy who knows the game in and out, man. Like, he understands the game, and he was a valuable asset for us on the offense. I wish him the best in the future, man. I hope he gets everything that he deserves, and just as a friend, just want him to be happy. More than anything, want him to be happy. So, wishing him the best, and we got to move forward.
Talking about Brock there, you guys were in 12 personnel, I think 58% of the time on Sunday. How much of a game changer is it for your offense to be able to utilize him and Mike that often now they're both healthy?
Yeah, you got to use your great players, man. You got to use your good players, and Brock and Mike are two of our good players, and two of the guys that we rely on this offense. And if we're in 12 personnel, 11 personnel, no matter who's out there, guys got to make plays. But having those two guys on the field, you can see the results, man. They both are extremely talented players. They play extremely hard, and they're big targets, man. They find ways to get open, and you can see what they do with the ball in their hands.
Do you see Jack as having any similarities to Jakobi in their game at all? And what do you think this will open up for him now, opportunity-wise?
Yeah, I think Jack is his own player, man. I think he's a young guy who's still developing into who he's going to be in the NFL. And, again, man, Jakobi's special in his own right. But I think Jack, a completely different player. I think, what he brings to the table, his own skill set, his own set of intangibles and things that, he can help this offense. He's extremely strong at the top of routes. He does a great job at attacking the ball. And, you can see it when he does get the ball in his hand. He tries to make something happen. And the opportunities haven't really been there for him to showcase what he can do. But, that may change here in the future.
You guys all good?
Thank you, Geno.
Thank you, guys.